Hi, let's install MOTECH from scratch. I'm using a Linux machine that's running Ubuntu 16.04 desktop. And the number one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start a browser and use the Google to search for installing MOTECH. And then find the first link. Note that it's basically pointing to docs.motechproject.org, and then installing MOTECH for the getting started implementers section. And then it's basically going to be listing command line actions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a command line right there, and I'm going to triple click each line and then middle click it into the browser, and that should do it. Let me see. Okay. So first we need to add the Java 8 repository to our database of repos. Notice you need to be a user that has admin privileges on the machine, otherwise you won't be able to do sudo. It asked me to press enter, and I did. Then you need to update the database. There you go. And then I see that there are 3 lines of apt-get install, one that installs Java 8, one Tomcat, one ActiveMQ, and one MySQL, and you can combine them all in one. So I'm gonna open JDK 8, JDK, Tomcat 7, ActiveMQ, and MySQL server. I'm going to pause the video, it's going to be a little while. See you later. Okay, I'm resuming the video. During the setup, the install for MySQL is asking for the root password for MySQL. So I usually use password because it's on my developer's machine, and for testing, obviously I would use a real password for a production machine. But using password, PASSWORD, is quite useful in debugging. There are some little tricky things that make debugging easier when you use password as your password, if I recall correctly. So, password it is. There you go. I'm pausing again. Okay, we're done. So now let's move down to see what more things there are to do. We need to change the way, the amount of memory that's used by Tomcat. And that's by changing an environment variable called Catalina opt. So first we're going to stop Tomcat. There you go. Then we're going to basically create or update the setend file. And then we're going to also change the ownership of some of the system directories to Tomcat 7. Okay, then we also need to tell Tomcat where Java is installed, I think, for some reason. So let's do that. Sorry, there we go. Okay, we then need to enable ActiveMQ and also set it to enable the scheduling of sending messages. So this is the enabling ActiveMQ, and then this part basically modifies the ActiveMQ.xml config file to allow scheduling, and then we restart ActiveMQ. And then what else do we need to do? Yes, we need to copy basically the WAR file, which is basically a file that contains the entire MOTECH app, at least without all the additional modules. It'll be familiar to people who use Tomcat. It's an entire self-contained application, basically. And the name of the file will also be the name of the application. You type in the URL. So what the instructions mention is to use the version named release, but for the sake of this demo, I actually need to download version 28.1. So I'm gonna slightly modify that a bit, which you're welcome to do as well. So I paste that, but I change by hand. See, I changed the release here to 0.28.1. And I'm going to copy that to the file name motech-platform-server.war. And so our URL will be motech-platform-server. You'll see that soon. It's going to take a while, so I'll pause the video while it's downloading, even though I have blazing internet. Okay, we copied the file, and now we're going to copy it to the directory in Tomcat that needs apps. So there, and then I'm going to change the ownership of that, and then we need to restart Tomcat. So what I do, or we need to actually, it says start. Sorry, I had to take a little break. So the one thing I do when I start Tomcat as a dev, and it might also be useful as an implementer, is I keep a window basically of with a constant view at the log file for Tomcat. So if there are a bunch of errors, or if it's doing nothing, it tells me stuff. So we're going to start the Tomcat 7 service, and then I'll show you how to do that, just, you know, for extra credits. You don't have to do it. So that starts Tomcat, and meanwhile, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new terminal and change the font to something a little smaller. There you go. Put it there, and I'm going to find where the catalina.out file is. I never remember that. Okay, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sudo tail-f that file, and basically that's showing me that, you know, the server started up in, you know, 8 seconds. So I generally keep that window in the back, you know, and check things out. So now we go back to the notes for installing MOTECH, and basically it says, you know, navigate to localhost 8080 motech-platform-server, and this is where, if you'd specify a different file to download, you know, to copy, like if I copied the war file to a file named MOTECH, then that URL would just be http:// localhost 8080/motech instead of motech-platform-server. FYI. So let's open that in a new tab, and let's see if MOTECH started. Woohoo! It looks it. We need a little bigger window, and it's asking me basically initial setup questions. The first is where is your ActiveMQ broker? We installed ActiveMQ on the machine the regular way, so it's going to be that. Then MySQL, we installed MySQL and not Postgres, so we're going to use the first suggested driver, URL. Then we're also going to use the JDBC MySQL driver. And the username, remember how for my dev machine I always do password as the password. There you go. You can check if you want that the SQL creds you typed are correct. And yep, they are. So I'm going to hit continue, and you're going to see in this window probably things happening. Oh, and I never want to remember passwords. And sure enough, you know, things are happening in the background. You can see that the WebUtil module has started, and you can see the little green check mark, and it's going to do that for a few more modules. Once this starting is done, it's going to ask us more things. So I'm going to pause the video, and you know, it takes a little while. Patience is required. So see you in a sec. Okay, we're done with the wait, and now on to the second setup screen. So MOTECH can now talk to a database and a message queue. It now needs to create the very first MOTECH user. We used to enable the use of OpenID for that, but I don't think that it actually works. I think we're going to remove that section. So please click repository. And again, it's my dev machine, so I usually type something really simple. So I use ammo, and ammo at ammo.mo. This machine that I'm on cannot send email, so this admin email doesn't really mean anything. Submit. And that's it. You can see the UI is showing you that it's ready to log in. But you can also see that, you know, there were some, for example, the MOTECH scheduler module was still started. So sometimes you'll see the UI that shows that it's ready, but really in the background it's still doing stuff, which is fine. And that's it. So you've successfully installed MOTECH. Let's log on for the first time as the user Mo. And voila! This is the MOTECH screen. It's a little. My boss is right next to me. She is laughing because I can't say voila properly. The screen is white. We'll eventually put something in there. But yeah, you've got a working version of MOTECH. Good job.